Welcome, everyone. I am Enrique Acosta Gonzales, and I am joined by Ashkan Tashvir. And in this episode, we will be speaking about the role of technology in modern leadership. And Ashkan, we had a wonderful conversation bringing in technology into these segments, and I'm looking forward to see about this role that technology has in our leadership.
Yeah, yeah. Hello, Enrique, and hello, everyone. Happy to be here again. So, technology and leadership. So, um, in one of the previous episodes, we talked about technology and the human relationship or connection with technology, particularly the new technologies such as AI, machine learning, and so on. So, in order for us to create a context for the role of technology in modern leadership. So it's really actually good to talk about some of the trends or some of the things that are considered as essential skills um, um, or essential qualities that many leaders, whether they're coming from technological background or not, actually think that are crucial. What do you think those are, Enrique? So the top of your head.
Yeah, I would say one of those skills would be digital literacy, let's say, just being conscious and having a mind around what digitization is and the digital landscape, how that is benefiting you, and how you can exploit it for the better good of your organization.
Yes. So the thing is that the knowledge being carried and that literacy, the collective understanding of technology or the way that a team relates to technology matters a lot. Yeah, because it's at the end of the day, like we're going to make decisions and act upon the way that we relate to things. You know, so we have perceptions, we have perspectives, we see something in some way, and that's going to, at least in big part, determine the type of decisions that we're going to make. Yeah, and then they're going to determine the outcome um, as we go. So how as a team collectively we relate to technology matters. Yeah. Now, so now obviously, like if you're talking, for example, about software development teams, like they're going to have a much better robust understanding of new technologies in general, perhaps because they are in their field in one way or another, than, for example, a team that um, they're not in the space of technology whatsoever. Yeah, so they're in a completely different realm, and but they somehow see, for example, if you are a software developer, perhaps you had that passion at some point in your life, at least, or even still now, that you're fascinated by technology, you want to learn more about new technologies, etc., etc. But if you're not in that field, um, it may feel like it's being imposed on you, like you didn't choose this field. Yeah, so for example, you are a nurse, you are a teacher, you are a lawyer, or you're in a different field of technology, and you comfortably you've been doing your thing, like whatever you're passionate about, what you care about, you're good at, and then all of a sudden it's like this need of learning new technologies is being imposed on you, so you're going to have a very very different reaction to it, isn't it? Have you experienced that yourself, or have you experienced people talking about it?
Definitely. As you were
Yeah,
speaking, one person came to mind where she was hired as a basically instructional technologist, right? The
yeah,
teacher and the trainer for a company. And her background was in teaching, but it was an ad tech company, right? They
yeah,
had developers, they had computer scientists, they had machine learning, they had all of that. And so she had to, just by the mere fact that she's training these people, get
Yeah.
so immersed into a field that she,
Yeah.
didn't get hired for. So I've seen that.
Yeah. Yeah. So and the thing is like in certain other fields it can be like you go there, you understand the literature in that field, you get your degree or you study it in, or you get you work under supervision at some point, and then you're in the field, and then you gradually become an expert in the field. And um, in certain fields it's not that fast paced, yeah. So there are certain principles of certain literature you need to learn, and then you gain more and more and more experience as you go. But when it comes to technology itself, like it's so rapidly moving and expanding and advancing that many universities and trade schools, like they have been being quite challenged, because they put the curriculum, and they put all of these topics they want to cover in months, sometimes not even years. Like the whole thing has changed, and basically, yeah. So that has been a kind of a challenge in the realm of technology. Now imagine a person in the field, as I've mentioned, like if you have chosen to be in that field, then you should have prepared yourself for it. Yeah, so it should not be a shock, despite the fact that it is sometimes. But if you're not in the field of technology, you may feel that it's being imposed on you, and then that's you're not going to respond too well with it. Yeah, but the reality is, like, we have to we need to embrace it. Yeah, we need to embrace it, and we need to develop some level of understanding of these technologies. And therefore, as you mentioned, like the digital literacy, the being aware enough of the field collectively as a team, so matters. Yeah, because it's going to impact our decisions. And so another thing is adaptability in continuing learning. So which is related to that literacy, because like as you're developing your conception of these different parts to technology, particularly the technologies that are going to directly influence the way that you do your work. Yeah. So for example, if you're a medical practitioner today, in today's age, it's impossible for you to operate and then be a good physician and treat people without tapping into the equipments and the technologies available. So basically, it's not like it's so intertwined that you cannot ignore it. You can say, "Oh, I don't want to have anything to do with technology." So actually, you should. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that as we're going, and more dependencies is going to be created, and these fields are going to, like, the gap between these fields are going to be closer as we go, because they get closer and closer. For example, like in cancer research, and like you definitely you can leverage, and they are leveraging um, AI models and systems, so that you can identify these patterns and everything. And so basically, it's just taking us to a level that you cannot strip any field out from technology. Yeah, this is new technology. So basically, this continuous learning is extremely important. And I think from a phenomenological perspective, like common human experiences, we do have a level of inertia. We have this level of resistance. We don't resistance. We don't want to change. We're comfortable as we are, and as if like there is this as is it commonly said, like there is this comfort zone that you're sitting in. But then on the other side, you have the transformation zone, and and you have the zone for growth. Yeah, so you have comfort zone and you have growth zone. but but there is something in between, and that's your decision zone, let's call it that. Yeah, because at certain time you need to get to this, you need to be receptive. If you want the growth, yeah, you want to be receptive, and you want to get to this stage of, you know what, enough is enough. I know that staying in my comfort zone is not serving in the long run. And that decision, it's extremely important for us to take the leap. So, and then obviously then like aiming low enough so that we can take the leap. Yeah, so we don't necessarily want to encourage anyone to go in and become an expert in technology from a leadership perspective, but uh, a degree of understanding is extremely important for the person to be able to lead in the modern days, um, and work with and leverage these technologies at the same time, not let the technologies to take them over. Yeah. So that's another one. Now, another topic that often is being discussed is data-driven decision making. Yeah. So, what does it come to your mind when you hear that? What does that mean to make decisions as a leaders, as business leaders, tapping into this paradigm of data-driven decision making?
Yeah, well, most decisions that are made uh, in a void without any substantiated information
Yeah.
usually doesn't pan out too well. And when we're
Yeah.
talking about data driven decision making, you're looking at some type of output that's
Hmm.
giving you an indication of something either favorable or not favorable, and you
Yeah.
taking that data to make
Yeah.
your future decisions from there.
Yeah.
And I think every leader should have a portion of their decision making
Yeah.
based on data that's coming in.
Yes. Yes. Um, that's actually okay. So let's just stay there a little bit because I think there's lots of myths and misunderstandings around that, based on my observation and my experience working with people. Um, so number one is like to say that, like it's often said, the data speaks for itself. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't because um, the data is there, and the data can be gathered in certain with a certain structure, and that the structure is designed by human beings. Yeah, so you create your data schema, you design your data set structure scheme, and so that on itself can be biased, like how and the method that you tap into so that you can gather the data. Now, basically it means that you're not gathering all data possible, you are gathering certain fragments of data. So that's a very important thing to know. See, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying that this is the nature of it, because see, we're not omniscient, we're not able to gather all data possible. We can gather a proportion of data. So that's number one. Number two is that once the data is gathered, then again, it depends on you how you're going to extract information out of that data. So two different groups um, from the same data, they can extract completely different information. No, it doesn't mean that one is wrong and what is right. Right? Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that like depends on how you look at it from a human perspective, and what matters to you, your axiological model or the hierarchy of values that you have, what you're seeking, and so many other factors. Then you're going to extract different information from that data. Now, let's assume that like you came up with the best information possible out of some raw data that you have gathered. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're not going to even make decisions purely based off the information. So basically, we don't make decisions based off data. We make decisions based off. It's more accurate to say that we make decisions based on the information we extract from the data, and that can vary. Yeah. Now, I'm trying not to be too technical here, but I hope that like we're following it. So, but then if you want to be even yet more accurate, we're not even making decisions out of the information we extract from the raw data. We make decisions at best using the intelligence that we develop. What does that mean? So you always have a proportion of the information that you have, like the information, that are validated and they can be validated. So you gather your data, you extract the information, you validated it, whatever validation process you have. But there are also parts that by the nature of it you can't even gather data, or you cannot even validate even if you gather data. There's no way for you to be able to validate that. So you always have this intelligence that it's from the aggregation of the validated information from the raw data, and the parts that you cannot even verify or validate. So we make our decision at best using the intelligence provided to us. And that's why we have the word intelligence. So there's lots of myth then around, okay, so we just make this decision based on the data that we have. We don't actually, yeah. But um if we actually pay attention to these nuances, it's perfect. Like definitely one of the things that we need to take into consideration is making intelligence based decision making. That's how I would reframe that. Yeah. Does that make sense to you? How does it land, Enrique?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Data
Mm,
by itself is just a representation of something that you pulled, right? And all of those still need to be interpreted, and then your intelligence needs to be added to making
yeah,
that decision. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. And another one is in this topic is extremely important is the cybersecurity awareness. So, because see, cybersecurity um, is not just about technology. That's why you can actually see it. You are seeing the different, like when it comes to technology itself, you the technology as a field attracts certain people with certain characteristics. But then now we're in the field of cybersecurity. You're seeing different characteristics of people being, people with different characteristics are being drawn into that, because it's not all about things and technologies. It's also about human beings. It's about policy. It's about compliance. Yeah. So there are different aspects to cybersecurity, from a human perspective than just technology. Yeah. So, so basically, it's like frameworks on top of which technology operates. Yeah. And now, so without getting too technical there, this awareness of the cybersecurity um, and privacy is extremely important from a legal standpoint. Even now, in most places in the world, some places are more strict and some places less. But as leaders, um, like you want to be so on top of the game, because and develop your understanding of them and work with the experts, because it can be turned to a massive liability. It first of all, like it can breach people's privacy, because you need to be very clear what kind of data you're gathering through your simple forms on your website or in your applications. And these are not just records on our databases. Each record represents a real human being and perhaps some potentially sensitive data that we are gathering from them. So it's a serious thing. And from a conceptual perspective, from ethical perspective, and lastly, from a legal perspective, because it can turn into a massive liability and it can lead to lots of legal consequences and financial consequences and reputational damages, etc. And we see that, like even like the top technological companies, the tech giants, like Google's, and like here, for example, in Australia, some of the top telecommunication or carriers, they haven't been immune to that, like Optos or Telstra. And so you see that even the cooperation with the the best of the best experts in the field, they cannot completely be immune to that. So the idea is not to absolutely avoid or remove it. I mean, that's ideal, but you can't. It's like you cannot vaccinate yourself to the point that you get no viruses, from health wise. Similarly, like it's impossible to 100% work on the immunity or security of your technological tools and systems. But so, like the idea is in this conversation, like what I'm trying to basically say is double emphasis on the importance of our conception as leaders when it comes to cybersecurity and the things around that. Yeah. Anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, no, cybersecurity currently is one of the biggest things that are going around is in terms of ensuring that level of security of data. There
Mm.
are infiltrations that are happening at any given point, and sometimes
Mm.
multiple points in a day. And
Yeah.
as leaders, we have to be very aware that there are implications in this realm of
Yeah.
cybersecurity.
Yeah. So, one other topic that we can definitely discuss is technological tools and that are used for collaboration, like the collaborative tools. And we know that one of the most um, costly expenses to any organization is the payroll and people related costs. Yeah, the wages of people, like the expenses that are directly or indirectly has to do with people, and therefore that's expensive, like to organization. Now, consider that there are lots of different studies that show that, and that's like there are lots of studies that they showed that there's so much wastage in communications between the team members. And that's quite aligned with my personal experience or professional experiences working with people. And I think that you resonate. There's lots of time that we spend tremendous amount of time in communicating ideas, tasks, or in collaboration. And um, obviously, one of the areas that I think helped a lot was this the development of these collaborative tools, like things like Slack, or for example, in software development, Atlassian, Jira, like agile tools, project management tools, and so basically these Kanban boards, and basically putting all these tasks up there, organizing them, assigning to the right people, and then the team collaborates, and certain tools like that. Yeah. So there are still organizations, particularly SMEs, that are not really leveraging that, and they keep this traditional way for multiple different reasons that um, sometimes ideological reasons that they think teams should collaborate in a certain way, and they don't emphasize on effectiveness or efficiency. Yeah, and that happens a lot these days. But that's going to be um, um, bringing severe consequences to the point that we see certain companies, we see it on a weekly basis, um, they they're seized due to that resistance. Yeah. Now, so now, as we're talking about technology, the role of technology in modern leadership is obviously um it's extremely important to leverage these collaborative tools. Now, but I think that there are lots of people out there they don't contest that. But what is more worthy, I think, to discuss it for a couple of minutes in this episode is the moment that, as a leader, you are convinced and you aim to implement such systems like integrated systems or collaborative systems, you're going to be dealing with tremendous amount of resistance, and to engage everyone, to encourage every team member to actually take this system seriously, because sometimes to provide the input, it's time consuming and it's not the most comfortable thing. And lots of people in the organization, in the team, may not really see why that is important. And often, like, implementations of these systems fail due to lack of engagement or support from the team members. So, what do you think of that? Like, have you experienced it yourself, Enrique? And why do you think that there is such resistance when it comes to adopting these collaborative tools?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of tools in my day. You mentioned several of them that I saw intently and used a lot. Trello, Slack,
Yeah,
Jira. I watched the engineers use for all
yeah,
of their tasks, and each one has its value. And what
yeah,
we have to do, uh, especially when we're trying to integrate this into our teams, is to know the
yeah.
value around them, and also seek the input of those that are using it. If it's not working for your team, don't, shove it down their throats, because they'll use something else. Now, as far as the resistance, it all boils down to, in my assessment, as a not wanting to lose some type of level of power over your
Mm,
team. And usually leaders struggle with adapting or adopting some of these tools, because they feel or they perceive that they'll lose some type of power over their team. And uh, that's it's sad that you would think that way, but it is. Uh, and the teams are just looking for better ways to work. And so, as
mm,
leaders, we need to be conscious of that and listen to the cries and clamors of the team for better tools for them to do their work.
mm. Yeah, so yeah, we can definitely go into the details of that, and but I think that considering the time that we have left for this the episode, I think it's good to wrap it up now. Yeah, is there any other thing you would like to mention before we wrap it up?
Yeah, no, it's when you talk about leadership and how you integrate technology into your day to day, don't be afraid. Trust your team and their suggestions for the best tools and technology to implement, and give it a try. Don't be too afraid to give a tool an opportunity to make you and your team better.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Enrique, and thank you very much, everyone, for being with us.